So I always talk about 3 points, right? Number one, make sure you find the right partner. So it's all about people. See, business is all about, if you want to solve the problem, it's all about teamwork. By yourself, you can do certain things. You always need to have somebody who can able to challenge you at the same time. So try to find a correct partner, which is in align with your personality or culture, whatever it is, right? So make sure he's the right guy. Pick the right guy as quick as possible. Don't delay that process.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's founded and grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure companies, as well as founded Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. And today we have another great guest on the episode that's going to tell a little bit more about his journey. And I've already tried to make sure that I got the name right, but if I slaughter it, forgive me. Anba Srinivasan.
That's awesome. Sure. Yep, you got it right.
Oh, I don't think it was even close, but we're going to count it. All right. And he's a bit of an engineer and a problem solver. So he started a kind of a hybrid cloud system in 2008, and they wound that down. He's now on to a second startup, and he'll tell you a little bit more about that today. So welcome on to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Devin. Thanks for having me. It's really great to share my story. And
well, we're excited to have you on. So I gave just a brief intro, a little bit about your journey, but let's take those couple steps back and talk a little bit about your journey and what brought you to where you're at today.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm a core engineer. I started writing a code. I used to write. Still I write a code. I'm an engineer. I'm a coder. So, and also I'm a problem solver. But so in 2008, so I was, before I was working for most of my life, I was working for a high-tech company, writing code and solving problems on the high-tech industry, mostly on the infrastructure, networking and storage, compute infrastructure industry. In 2008, there was a big, because of the recession and also consolidation on the infrastructure, people are thinking about they need to move towards the computing industry. At the same time, it's not very cheap to accommodate. So that's why the cloud came up as a really, really best way to how we can able to build the infrastructure cheaper, and also it can able to enable most of the people to use the compute infrastructure, right? So that's how the cloud came in. But if you see the part of the cloud, so that's where I thought public cloud will solve certain problem, and also there was an investment made on the infrastructure private cloud. So I thought there is a need for hybrid cloud. So then I took the journey. After that, in 2016, again, I'm a more like entrepreneur. So I have to I have to accelerate faster.
So before you jump off of the second startup, let me just jump in really quick. So the idea of the first startup is, cloud-based system, and now everybody uses the cloud, and half people don't really know what the cloud is other than their data all goes somewhere and it doesn't store it on their device, and whether they need it, it comes back. But the idea was on that one, if I understand it right, is you kind of had a hybrid where you had private and public cloud, right? And I'm just not trying to put words in your mouth, so certainly correct me if I'm wrong. The idea is that, some things you put on the cloud, you want to remain private, meaning nobody can access, only you can access, it's secure, and it's data. While other things you want to share publicly, and you want to be able to share to multiple people. So at the time, it was you're making a cloud system that you can keep the things you want private, while the things you want to share, make public, or make it publicly available. Is that about right?
So you're right on the private cloud and public cloud, but there was a need for the hybrid cloud. What I mean by that is so think about it. You own a car, that's your private. You own an infrastructure, you own a car. Still, there is a need for you go for a long vacation, or when your car, whatever it is, still you need a leasing car or a rental car, right? So think about the same analogy from an infrastructure perspective. So you need to have your own private infrastructure if you use it very heavily, or if you use it like a periodically on-demand basis, then rental car is best. but you only use it for a certain period of time. Lease car is best. So think about analogy perspective. You want a lease car, you want a rental car, or you want a own car. So there is a need for how I can able to use both whenever is needed. So that's what the lease car is, the model where, so you still own it for a 1 year, but after that, if you want to give up, right? So how you can able to build the infrastructure which accommodate both public and private based on your business needs. That's what hybrid clouds are, like private and public clouds provide the needs, what is needed for the business, provides even more agility.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So you built the private cloud, or sorry, private/public hybrid cloud in order to provide that. And then I think after you grew that for a while, was the company acquired, or it seemed like that you took, or that when we talked a little bit before, you had the core, almost a core team that went and worked on another business together. So how did that work?
So I was about to raise the money, Series A. So we got a seed money for $500,000. So after that, with that, we built the product, we built a couple of customers. We took this journey for a one year, 1.5 years, actually 1 year. So after that, we want to raise Series A money. So when we are trying to raise a Series A money, it's a 2008 financial crisis. So the environment was not very good. And also the cloud is too early on the market. So we were too early. People are not even know what is public cloud, private cloud. We started introducing another terminology, hybrid cloud. So the market was very confused, and although they're not ready to consume. So what happened was the whole core team, the core team, we went and part of the other business and started helping them to build their product and do that.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So then you had the core team, went and did that for a period of time. And then you said, okay, now we want to go back into the startup life. You want to go back into the startup realm and engage and do that yet once again. So how did you come up with, and that's where you're at today, right? Is with TinoSys. And how did you come up with that idea, and what made you decide to go back out and do yet another startup and go through down that path again?
So I'm a more technologist. So I always look for where is the technology is going, right? So for example, if you see my whole career path, in 2003, we were talking about 3G and 4G. That time, cellular itself is there is no phones, mobile phones are like a bricks. So that time we are thinking about how the wireless can enable all the mobile, like you feel the internet, everything on your mobile in 2003. And in 2005, 6, we started thinking infrastructure as a service, where more like a cloud, how people can use infrastructure as a cloud, as a service, rather than building your own infrastructure. In 2014, I started seeing the artificial intelligence, the way you build your application on the computer infrastructure, or the way you run your application, it'll be totally change the way you build it. So today, if you see the most of the people builders, you acquire a talent, you give the spec, you ask them to build it, right? Like how NASA gives a spec to some contractor, they build it, right? But AI is going to change that. So the way AI works is, right? You give the data. I try to learn the requirements and learning from the data as a human, as a domain expertise. Then I'm going to build a code for you, right? That's like how you can able to build the requirement from the data, then build the product and application. So that's what the AI will completely change the way. There is nobody who's not going to give a requirement, domain expertise. It's going to more learn from the data. So when I saw that, okay, I see there is opportunity. Since I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a startup guy, I really work in a very small environment because I nimble, agility, go faster. Is a more entrepreneur characteristics, right? So when I saw it's 2016, I decided, okay, that's a time. I think it's a time for me to go out and start another one. And AI technology is the one which is going to be accelerate next decade as a big technology horizontal enabler in all industry.
Okay, no, I think that makes sense. So one question I almost had with all of that, as you come up with a new idea, you get the second startup going, you bring the core team back to do, tackle that again. What was the different, or maybe it was or wasn't different when you're looking at the old startup and that original experience when you did the first one versus the one you're working on today? Was it a lot the same field? Did you learn lessons? Did you do a better job the second time? Did you make more mistakes the second time? Or kind of what was the difference in that experience between the two different businesses?
The tech, like the problem perspective, it's a more technology area, right? So if you see from a domain perspective, it's a pure technology play, technology enabler. From a business perspective, the first startup was more like, I'm more like a technology enabler, and I had a partner who does the business enabler, right? So that time I didn't have a much business experience. So we kind of partnered with one more person who's kind of built the team. So if you see the first startup is more like I would say the first startup is more like you kind of try to accelerate so many things in a much more faster way. Doesn't have that try to gauge what is going on from an external forces perspective, right? At the end of the day, you need to make sure whatever your problem solving it, make sure the external forces, the ecosystem, or the business environment, make sure it fits the timing, trend, everything has to be in a line for you to make it a sustainable business. The first startup is we are more like a technology enabler. Let's go do this. Let's force it to make it enabling. So that's kind of a first startup. The second startup is I learned a lot of things from the first startup. Second startup is always listen to the customer, listen to the domain expertise, listen to the market, what is going on. Still you disrupt, but you don't just go disrupt because you want to disrupt. Try to learn what is the transformation happening. If it is too early, they won't get it. If it is too late, already there'll be too much crowd, right? So you have to be on the timing perspective, how you messaging, the storytelling. That is very, very, very critical. You can tell the same problem in a different way. So how you can message it, what you're doing in a much more consumable way on that timing perspective, on that particular. So today, if you take AI and ML, is the end users are ready to consume AI and ML in a right way. So rather than using AI and ML, what is the right way to message it so the consumer will get it? So that way they can able to see the value of what we are building.
Okay, no, that makes good sense. So now, as you've been in the Tino systems for a while and for a good period of time, as you guys have been working and building that, if you're to take kind of the next 6 months to a year, kind of what you guys are going to be working on, kind of where do you see that going, and what's the trajectory you guys are going to take?
Yeah, so if you take any startup, there's 3 phases, right? Number 1 is validation phase, where you make sure there is what problem you're solving, your technical problem in line with the business problem, in line with a niche. So you find a niche, a target customer for that thing, and you make sure everything works together. So that's a first phase. So we already completed past 3 years our initial validation phase. So we have a couple of customers, they're paying it, they're using the service. Now we try to see from a the next 1-2 years, we want to understand from a go-to-market strategy perspective, right? So how we are going to scale this business, and how we are going to sustainable business by scaling the business and also sustaining it. So that's what the next 2 years focus will be, how we are going to build this business much more sustainable and much more. So either you go with the partner ecosystem or you go with the thing. So we're figuring out from a go-to-market strategy perspective, how we can able to grow this business.
Okay. So, excuse me. So now, if we're to kind of jump into, so you're doing that now, and maybe in one thing we jumped over just a little bit. So the current business, Tino Sys, or what is the business? And I know we talked a little bit about it. Kind of is looking at AI and analytics to make a customer experience better, right? But maybe just give a bit more of an insight as to kind of what is the current business, what are you guys doing, and how is it different than what's already out in the marketplace?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So what Tino Sys does is Tino Sys enables the businesses to serve their customer better. So what that means is, if you take a customer experience, you have 3 stages of customer experience. So first stage of the customer experience is your early customer or your new customer adoption, customer acquisition. That's the first phase of the customer, how you identify your new customer, your target customer. And the second stage is when you grow the business, how you're going to onboard your customer faster, how you're making sure you're satisfying your customer on the growth stage, right? That's the second stage of customer experience. And the third stage is like you establish business, you're already a long-term business, how you can able to retain your customer. So acquiring a customer, engage, make sure you're delivering the customer what is required, and just retaining the customer, right? These three phases, and if you take any part of the company, there's a three stages of the company. One is the early stage of the company, one is the growth phase of the company, and mature stage of the company. So every stage of the company, people have a different kinds of customer experience needs. If you take an early stage of the company, you want to make sure they going very fast and they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough tools. So they want to use the existing tools available, the public data available to help them to acquire the customer faster. So that's where we are helping. We are gathering the data from public data and try to help them to understand the market better and make sure they are able to get the customer faster. That's the first phase of the customer. That's what we are helping. How we can able to help any early stage of the company to get the customer faster, acquire the new customer faster. And the second is the growth phase company, right? Growth phase company has certain data with them, and also they're growing fast. They don't have enough resources, but they want to deliver faster. So there, what we are doing is like we kind of taking the existing data, existing tools, and we're trying to providing the analytics and prescriptive, descriptive analysis to be able to see how part of the customer engagement, onboarding perspective, where is the problem, how they can able to build a strategy. So that's what we are providing the customer experience very specifically on the growth company. And retaining company, we kind of using the existing data, try to see what is the current model work, how you retain the customer. Maybe you slip the customer, you don't have the much visibility. So the stage, growth stage of the, like a very growth stage or a mature stage of the company, we are helping them to how you retain your customer, how you can able to make sure your customers are not going away from that. So this is the three stage of the company. We are using different kinds of the data. One is public data, one is hybrid of public data and private data. The mature companies completely their data. Try to get their data, try to analyze their data and provide the insights very specific on customer experience to give the visibility on their customer segmentation, customer sentiment, customer frustration, whatever it is. So what is their customer feelings and segmentation, so they can able to take a right strategy, right action to make the customer experience better. That's what we are building, a platform as a service. And also we provide some customization on top of it using our partner ecosystem, professional service partner ecosystem. They kind of help us to build customization for our customers. So that's what we are providing. We are building customer experience analytics platform as a service. So, and also parallelly building the professional services ecosystem to help our customers to customize their needs on our platform.
Okay, no, I think that's a good explanation. So thank you. So, okay, now as we kind of, as we talk through, your journey, and you've gone through the first startup, you went and worked with another company for a period of time with the core team. Now we're doing the second startup. You guys are looking to grow into the different areas, and all of that. So maybe what we'll do now is jump into, I always ask 2 questions at the end of the podcast. And so we'll go ahead and jump to those now. So the first question I always ask was, what was the worst business decision you ever made?
So if I take my first startup, so I exited too early. So there should be a different way. Say startups are like, right, what is startup? It's all about you accelerate the problem faster. So most of the time what we do is like, we kind of get into the panic mode. Oh, I cannot get the customer. I cannot raise the money. I cannot able to do that, right? So there is always way to find, it's not all about money, right? You are able to find, if you have a conviction, and if you have that desire to solve that problem, you always find a way. So the first decision, like we decided too early, we kind of panicked in the first time. Right? I kind of panicked in the first time. Oh, financial crisis is happening. I cannot raise the money. How I'm going to do it? Oh, let's go find somebody to hug it. So immediately we kind of wind up too quickly. In 1.5 years, we made the decision. But that was amazing market, right? Hybrid cloud that's a real problem. Now today, if you see, Microsoft is acquired so many companies on that area, hybrid cloud, VMware, all this hypervisor, orchestration. So there are so many kind of companies acquired on this area, and Microsoft is the leader, VMware and Microsoft. So we kind of missed that boat because of we tapped out very early. That's one of the worst decision I made in business decision.
Okay. So basically, you know, the mistake was exiting the first company too early and not seeing it through or taking it to the point you necessarily would have wanted to. So, okay.
That's
so now as we jump to the second question is, you know, if you're talking to someone that's just getting into a startup or small business, or starting out, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
So I always talk about 3 points, right? Number one, make sure you find the right partner. So it's all about people. See, business is all about, if you want to solve the problem, it's all about teamwork. By yourself, you can do certain things. You always need to have somebody who can able to challenge you at the same time. So try to find a correct partner, which is in line with your personality or culture, whatever. One. Number two, try to make sure you pick the problem where you're comfortable with your domain. It takes a lot of time to learn anything. It looks everything simple. It always looks like, oh, that's easy, but it takes time to learn anything. So make sure what is the domain you want to pick up, or you have some history behind that domain, either your partner or you or your core team. Make sure you have enough expertise on that domain and pick that domain. Everything looks simple, but when you dig deeper, domain expertise is really, really critical. The third thing is like, do the homework, talk to as many people as possible, try to gather as much data as possible. Data, information. If you don't have information, as a human beings, we have an impulse. We kind of make a decision really quick. Sometimes if it doesn't have enough information, if you make the decision, once you make the decision, you follow the decision for 3 to 6 months, then you figure it out, it's a problem. It's too late. It takes a lot of energy. At some point, you lose your energy. So it's always important to gather enough information before making. Delaying in decision is it's okay, but once you make the decision, you have to stick to it, but make sure you make the right decision by gathering enough data and talking enough.
Okay, no, I think that's good. I mean, data can be used for a lot of things, but I think even in early startup, getting the data about what your customer wants, how they can help it, everything from what the market will pair to pricing to what they want in the product and all sorts of things. There's a lot of data that can be gathered and a lot of things that can be garnered from that data that, too often times you just want to get to building the product, you just want to get to solving the problem without having the full set of data. So I certainly think that's a helpful insider, helpful thing that for people as they're getting into startups to know. So as people want to, as people want to get involved with your product, get to learn more about it, reach out to you, invest in you, whatever the case may be, connect up with you. What's the best way to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, please email me at anba@tinosis.com or LinkedIn. Search on my name, Anba Srinivasan, and connect through the LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best way to reach out. It's easy to search, easy to connect. So please reach out to me either via email or through LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, I certainly invite everybody to reach out to you, get to learn a little more about Tinosis, see if it's right for you and for your customer service needs, and also to connect up with Anba and any questions or anything that you have for him. So thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun to talk about your journey and how it's going, and wish you all the next leg of your journey the best. And for all of those people, or all of you that are out there that are wanting to tell your journey and share that, feel free to go to inventivejourneyguests.com and you can apply to be a guest on the show. And if you're a listener, make sure to subscribe to, excuse me. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can make sure to get notifications for this episode and all the new episodes. And certainly, if you need any help with patents and trademarks, feel free to reach out to us at Miller IP Law. Thank you again, Anba. It's been a pleasure to have you on and to hear your journey, and wish you the best next leg of your journey.
Hey, thank you, Devin. Thanks for having me. It's really enjoyed talking to you, and thanks.